Derby County are set to be looking at 3 potential transfers over the course of the next few weeks in this January transfer window. 3 transfers, in my opinion, which could have massive impact on the rest of the season. We already know that Derby County are chasing a deal for Harvey Knibbs. It is rumoured now that that deal is completed on the personal terms side, and we're just waiting to agree a fee with Reading for the player. Now, obviously, Reading won't want to be losing lots of their top players, but another player on the list for Derby County is Sam Smith, Reading's striker at the moment. He scored 13 goals in the Championship this season, and the final player who Derby County seem to be chasing at the moment is Richard Kone. Now, we spoke all about Harvey Knibbs in a video previous to this one, and I think that would be an excellent deal for Derby County. A really versatile player, can play in central midfield and anywhere across the front three, would certainly add a different dimension to Derby County in those areas and give us more of an opportunity to rotate in those forward positions. We've obviously at the moment Corey Blackett-Taylor, Tom Barkhazen don't really seem to be getting the minutes, and Paul Warne doesn't seem to be in favour of using them. But in my opinion, Harvey Knibbs, excellent deal for Derby County. Will they get it over the line? Derby County are also rumoured to be in for Sam Smith, as mentioned earlier, the Reading striker who's had a really impressive start to the season. He looks to be set to potentially come to Derby County. It's a deal which we are interested in, but the asking price appears to be higher than expected. And obviously they don't want to lose Harvey Knibbs and Sam Smith at the same time for cheap. Now, Sam Smith has scored 9 goals in 21 appearances in the league this season, with 1 assist to his name as well. 88% of the time he's in their starting 11, with 26% of goal participation. Over the course of his career, he's played 293 games, 83 goals, 12 assists in 20,580 minutes. That's across the course of the FA Youth Cup, as well as Premier League 2 and the end of all senior competitions. Sam Smith, in my opinion, is certainly a player who would be really impressive for Derby County. He can play across the front three, but obviously most known for that position down the middle as the central striker, where he's played 198 times, 73 goals and 8 assists. He's played 32 times on the right with 10 goals and 2 assists, 6 times on the left with 2 assists, and 2 games in that number 10 position. Now, obviously, Sam Smith is a player who came through at Reading, making 2 appearances for their under-18s, 24 for the 21s. He's also made appearances for teams like Shrewsbury, Tranmere, Cheltenham, Oxford United and Cambridge United, where he had his biggest spell of 143 games and 43 goals with 7 assists. Obviously, since joining Reading just a few seasons ago, 70 appearances, 27 goals and 2 assists. He's a player who I think could have a massive impact for Derby County, and one who I think could certainly improve the striker depth options that we've got. In my personal opinion, Derby County need to be letting Dejan Brown go out on loan, and we need to be letting James Collins and Connor Washington move on to pastures new, whether that be in this January transfer window or in the summer. Those deals need to happen as quickly as possible. Now, for me, Sam Smith is not necessarily the ideal striker. Obviously, we probably want someone from the Premier League who can score 20 goals in the Championship, but there's no reason why Sam Smith can't come into Derby County and have a real impact on what we're doing at this football club. And it would offer more depth in options for that of Jerry Yates at the moment, who we seem to only be using. Obviously, later on today, we face up against Leyton Orient with a ton of first-team players out injured and ill, so it's one of those for me where if we had these players available, it would completely change the complex of this conversation, because we obviously, would these players have got ill as well? Who knows, but we know it would open up the door for more options to be on the bench and things. Obviously, I know Derby County are on 24 registered players. Joe Ward not yet left the club, but that is rumoured to be close to be happening, with League One clubs chasing his signature, Mansfield being the main one being mentioned at the moment, but it just appears that wage fees for the loan seem to be the things getting in the way. Now, obviously, on to the second the second striker, that is Richard Kone. 25 appearances, 13 goals, 76% of the time is in Wycombe starting 11, 26% goal participation. He's played 54 times since joining Wycombe in the 23-24 season, scoring 20 goals. Obviously, this season has been his best output after stepping up from, I believe it was step 5 of the English pyramid. So he's had a really good rise into the professional game, and he's turned up some really, really good performances. Now, he was born July 15th, 2003, 21 years old, from the Ivory Coast, a 1.85 metre centre forward, so around that 6 foot, 6'1" mark. And in my opinion, he as well as Sam Smith, if we get all three of these players in, Derby County are absolutely cooking, because we add striker depth, we add winger depth, and there is rumoured to be more transfers on the way and more players in that striker forward department that we're rumoured to be after from a club called, I think it's Troms, although we don't have a name for that right now, so we'll have to see whether that comes out. And it's one of those for me where if Derby County can bring in Smith, Knibbs and Kone, that gives us 3 striker options in Yates, Kone and Smith. It adds to the wide options. It gives us Knibbs, Blackett-Taylor, Mendes-Lang and Caden Jackson and Marcus Harness. You then obviously have Harness can play through the middle, Knibbs can play through the middle, so you offer a bit more competition for Kenzo Holdmine. So the big conversation for me is, how would Derby County get this deal done? All 3 would require transfer fees, and a lot of people are saying Derby County have no money, but ultimately that isn't true. There is funds in the pot, and with letting Sonny Bradley go out on loan, that gives us a little bit more money to spend, because obviously some portion of his wages will be fulfilled by Wycombe Wanderers, whether it be all of it or 50%, some will be covered, and that will obviously help Derby County spend more in this January transfer window. When you look at Kone and his position, he's only ever played up front for Wycombe on the most part of the games by transfer market. I think it's 34 they have on there that he's played, and for me, I think he would add an excellent option. At just 21 years old, he's got a long set of growth ahead of him, and there's no reason why he can't be second, third choice striker to a Sam Smith and a Jerry Yates at the moment, and then coming into next season, it'll be between him and Smith, unless we can get a deal completed for Jerry Yates all the way through. Now, obviously, it's a bit of an interesting one when it comes to fees. In my opinion, I think for all 3 players, I think we're probably looking in the region of £1 million to £1.5 million, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I can't see it being any cheaper than that. Not each, I'm talking about in total, like £1 to £1.5 million in total. So you're looking at about what, maybe 500k per player, 350 to 500k per player. That's what I'd suggest for these players. Obviously put on salon fees in there and all sorts to try and drop it down, give them money when they make 100 appearances for the club and stuff like that, because that certainly then opens the door for those conversations to sort of make the deal cheaper but more expensive. But if it's more expensive, that means they've hit certain performance goals, and obviously wage-wise, they're not going to be on a great deal at Reading because of the situation at Reading. Kone's not going to be on a great deal at Wycombe because of where he's come from, his age and things like that, because he's come from a proper low division to get into Wycombe in the first place. So this is some really, really good options for Derby County, and I think we could have a really good deal on our hands heading into the future. Will Derby County sign these 3 players? That will be the big conversation over the course of the next few weeks. The link will have been on screen early doors in the video, but it's one of those for me which I think will be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. I think Derby County are an excellent destination for players, not necessarily for style of play, but I think we've got a history of giving players the opportunity to grow and flourish and move on. And ultimately, most of the time, we don't get what we deserve for them, which is obviously disappointing, but I think that could be a similar case here for a player like Richard Kone. If he comes in, has 18 months of good performances, scores 20, 30 goals across the course of the next 2 seasons, then he opens himself up for a top 6 or a Premier League move, and that's if Derby County don't move forward with investment and things like that. So there's some real good opportunities for Derby County. Will these 3 deals get done? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. Turn on the notification bell, hit the like button, and I'll catch you in the next one.